It's the fight that they're hoping will save the show. I'm Teekosey, and this is with just 15 defeats. This is with just 15 defeats, the YouTube boxing channel with heavyweight opinions. I'm Teekosey, and I am the host of this show. And today we're going to be discussing DERECK CHISORA versus Dillian Whyte. And if you've got anything to say about that, I want to hear from you ASAP. Go scroll down to the comment section and just leave us a comment. Tell me who you think is going to win. Tell me whether you agree or disagree with what I've got to say. Pull me up on anything. But just generally, just get involved, create the debate. If you like the video, which I hope you do, please give us a big thumbs up. Click on that like button. It'd be great to get a big selection of likes on this video. And also jump across to the channel, click subscribe, check out some of my other videos. We seem to be getting quite a few subscribers lately, so jump on the hype train with us. It'd be really good to have you on board for all the videos that we're going to be pushing out in the next couple of months, because there is a number of big fights coming up. So without further ado, let's discuss the fight, Chisora versus Whyte. Now, the Matchroom set up, Eddie Hearn and co, they've been kind of trying to promote this fight as being the fight that could steal the show. In my opinion, I believe that realistically they're hoping that it's going to save the show. Now there's a couple of other fights on the card. There's a couple of known guys that were on the card, so it might not be too bad. And obviously you've got Anthony Joshua, the massive hype train that keeps shuffling along. But a lot of people aren't too excited about that fight at all. We'll be discussing that fight in the next video that'll be coming probably later on this week, maybe 3 or 4 days time. So we'll be discussing that in more detail. But yeah, I generally believe that they're hoping that this is going to save the show. It's the fight that is going to promote it, and the fight that is going to get the pay-per-view buys rolling in, because that's what it is. Now, they've just leaked a video just a few days ago of the gloves are off between Whyte and Chisora, and there was a bit of commotion. Glasses were flown, a little bit of a ruck before they were split up. So they're obviously trying to hype this. I haven't really seen anything to do with the Anthony Joshua Molina fight, so it just shows you that they've created a gloves are off for an undercard fight. So they're putting a lot of weight into this fight. Wouldn't be surprised if the two are getting paid very handsomely for it, proportionally, because they need to sell this fight. So let's just move on and talk about the fight. Let's briefly talk about the two guys, and then briefly talk about the actual in the ring, the fight. Now, Chisora is an interesting guy because he's got a record of 26-6. It's been around for about 10 years now professionally. He's got a fantastic CV. He truly has. The CV part, right? Because he's been in the ring with Tyson Fury twice, right? Undisputed champ. Hellenius, which was for the European title, I think. He fought for Tali for the world title. He's fought David Haye. He's also fought Malik Scott, Kevin Johnson, and Kubrat Pulev in recent years. The problem is that he's lost all of the notable fights. He has beat Malik Scott controversially. There was a bit of an odd stoppage there, and he's beaten Kevin Johnson, who's just turned into a punch bag over the years. So, as I say, he's been in the ring with some top guys, and he's gone the distance with most of those top guys. So he's shown to be a very durable character. Now, what's interesting about the fact that the fact that he's fought these top guys is that he's not actually ranked by any of the main organising bodies within the top 10, right? But despite that, BoxRec, who we all look and we love using because it's got such a depth of data and information there, they're actually currently ranking him, as 9th in the world. They're ranking him as 9th in the world, but none of the organising bodies rank him in the top 10. And as we say, he hasn't got any notable victories on his belt. He's fought the wins that he's got are effectively against journeymen. So it isn't a great record. It's just that he has been in the ring with some top guys. He's really he's stepped up to the plate, and he's just been left wanting basically when it's come to it. Now, DERECK CHISORA, he has again, and what this also makes it interesting is that he has an interesting style. It's not as familiar as we see in heavyweight division. It's very compact. Head down, hands up, pressure. He jabs to the body a lot. Doesn't seem to jab a lot to the head. He jabs a lot to the body and tries to get in body shots. So you'd think that he would wear down his opponents, but he clearly doesn't, because he doesn't stop his opponents. I think primarily it's because he doesn't really have any real snap to his punches. He doesn't really have any concussive power. A lot of guys don't. He doesn't, and it's really held him back. And I think, like when we discuss about whether DERECK Chisora's whether he's fulfilled his potential in and outside of the ring, you have to look at that. He's been in some very controversial out of the ring moments. The whole thing with David Haye, which I think was a put on, slapping Klitschko, and the recent thing with Dillian Whyte and the gloves are off, and the fact that he did he get bottled by someone at Kubrat, Pulev press conference, and there's been so many things over the years, and the problem is that over the years you take him less and less seriously when these controversial things happen, and some of the things that he says, because he just can't back it up. He can't bang anyone out. It just never happens. So it is a bit of a shame for him. I think if he did have that little bit of one-punch power, he would have won more fights, definitely. He would have won more big fights, and he possibly may have picked up a strap. I know that years and years ago, I can't remember how long ago this was, but I think around the time where he lost that trilogy of fights with Haye and Klitschko and Helenius, and I think partly because the Klitschko and Helenius fights were so close, and the fact is he probably won the Helenius fight. He did really well against Klitschko. I thought that he would one day pick up a strap of some description, but I think his lack of serious power has really held him back, which is a problem. And we saw that again. Like the whole DERECK Chisora style kind of was summed up against Pulev just earlier this year when he lost the fight. The judges' scorecards were fairly variable. I think one, if I remember correctly, it was a split decision. One had it in favour of DERECK Chisora, and one had it in favour of, two had it in favour of Pulev. Now, most people that I listened to and spoke to said that Pulev won this comprehensively, and he won it very clearly. I didn't actually agree with that, because for me, Chisora won at least 4 of the rounds, at least 4, possibly 5. So you're realistically giving your man Pulev 7 rounds. So it wasn't a convincing fight win. I think it was more close than people gave him credit for, and I think part of this is because of the style that Chisora has doesn't always win him favour with judges and the fans, because it is somewhat boring and pedestrian. He plods along, pushing forward, trying to get in close and kind of rough his opponent up and whatever. I think sometimes he doesn't get all the points that he deserves. So, like when they're up in close, when they're holding on to each other, Chisora is very, very active. So in the clinch, he is throwing body punches and constantly throwing punches. And yeah, they're not flush punches to the chin and on the button, but he is throwing punches and he's landing to the body, to the chest, to the midsection. He's getting these punches in, and I believe, it's my personal opinion, is that he doesn't always get favour with the judges because of that. I feel that they kind of discard a lot of the point scoring punches because they're messy and they're kind of in hold and all that sort of business, right? So I think that he kind of possibly wins more rounds than he does, and that's why I think some of his fights have been so close. He's obviously got a decent chin because he only got kind of stopped by David Haye. The Chisora fight, I can't quite remember, the Tyson 3 second fight, I can't quite remember how that ended off the top of my head, but I know it was stopped, I think, in the late rounds. But yeah, he's shown to be quite a durable guy. So you think he would be able to go quite a few rounds with anyone, and he would be a good test for most people. Okay, so let's just quickly move across and discuss the opponent, which is Dillian Whyte. Now, Dillian Whyte is a younger guy. He's a bigger guy. He's slightly taller. He's got better movement. He's got a better jab. But again, he also lacks power. Now, his record is 19-1. He's got 15 knockouts. He's been professional since 2011. And despite the fact he's got 15 KOs, he does lack power. And it's been kind of brought to a lot of people's attention in the last couple of fights, because I think what happened is that a lot of people thought that Dillian Whyte was a devastating puncher because he'd been blown away, basically journeyman. So once he came back from suspension, he was put in the ring with he had a prolific run of opponents in the space of that first year, 6 or 7 guys, and he basically blew them all out because they were low-level opponents, and he was a big, fit guy who was able to kind of wear down his opponents and knock them out and whatever. Now, in the last couple of fights, he's got in with more credible opponents. We saw that he started with the champ, Anthony Joshua, late last year, and we saw that he caused Anthony Joshua a momentary moment of trouble. Anthony Joshua was troubled for the first and really the only time in his career. And for a brief period of time, people thought Anthony Joshua was going to get stopped. Now, if you take away that brief moment of madness where it all went for Anthony Joshua, he managed to get back on his feet, steady himself, and he ultimately wore down and stopped Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte has kind of implied that he was injured. He's since had a surgery on his shoulder. But if you look at the fight, realistically, Anthony Joshua dominated the entire fight, for the exception of about 30 seconds in that second round, which I believe it was kind of an emotional response that after that whole commotion, the punch after the bell at the end of the first round, and when everyone got involved, it was like adrenaline dump, and it kind of got to him. And then when that second round came, he got clipped. And this is not to say that I think Anthony Joshua is like the best thing since sliced bread, but I'm just saying I think that's kind of what happened. So I think if that hadn't have happened, it's possible Anthony Joshua would have continued and probably stopped Dillian Whyte earlier. Okay, now so just going back to Dillian Whyte now, he's then since come back and he's fought 3 guys since the Anthony Joshua fight. He started by fighting someone who's a tiny guy, looked like a cruiserweight, took his time and knocked him out, I think six rounds or something, right? Didn't really look that impressive. Did not look that impressive, didn't look that good at all, to be perfectly honest. And then some months ago, he got in the ring with David Allen, another young British heavyweight. Now, Dave Allen's got a reputation of being strong as hell, for being durable, hard as nails. And that really kind of that's basically was what happened. He was a very limited opponent, didn't offer really anything offensively. He let himself down, to be perfectly honest. I hope he comes back, because I think he's probably got more to give if he really kind of knuckles down, really kind of learns his trade. He could do something, right? But he was a very limited opposition, and it ultimately turned into a very good workout for Dillian Whyte. And he showed a large repertoire of shots and movement and style, punches, but he just couldn't get this kid out. He just couldn't blow this kid out. He didn't really danger him at all, really. So that is something that kind of sets some alarm bells going in terms of Whyte, that he hasn't been able to stop the kid. Then just a few weeks ago, he got in the ring with Ian Lewison. Now, Ian Lewison is a bit of an odd one. He's been a pro for quite a long time, has fought very few times, hasn't got in the ring that often. He had a few years off. I have no idea why. He's come back, and in the fights that he's come back, he's managed to pick up some Asia Pacific title. How he possibly kind of was able to fight for that, I don't quite know what you need to do to be eligible to fight for an Asia Pacific title. But anyway, he went there. He fought a Chinese guy, I think, and knocked him out in about 5 seconds. But he was gigantic. Now he's fighting really heavy in Lewison, really heavy. Like in the fight against Whyte, he was 273 pounds, which is, I think he probably should be about 235, in my opinion. So he's really up against it. Now the fight at Lewison and Whyte was quite an interesting fight. It started quite well with Whyte trying to box on the outside. And Lewison kind of, I don't know, it's almost like he was trying to do an impression of Floyd Mayweather. He was kind of trying to avoid the punches, trying to show that he's got amazing reflexes and show he's got his hands down, and trying to flip out the low jab and whatever. And basically what happened was that he ran out of gas. And his coach threw in the towel. Now, Ian Lewison, I think, is capable. I think if he really cracked down, he's actually got some natural ability. He's got some natural ability in terms of his skills and what he can actually do, what he can offer. He probably, I don't know. You assume this, he just doesn't have the desire for it. He doesn't have the desire, the commitment. To come in so out of shape is inexcusable, really. And the fact that he's had such a patchy career, we'll have to wait and see him. But anyway, the point that I kind of trying to lead to was that despite the fact that Lewison was clearly out of shape, and the fact that he was susceptible to being wore down fairly easily by someone who would box on the outside, move about, land good body shots, he should have been able to wear down Ian Lewison quite comprehensively. And he didn't. In fact, even Lewison had almost a bit of a second wind about 2/3 of the way through the fight, and looked like you never know, he might be able to get that one punch detonation and stop Whyte. Never really happened, and in the end, the final round of the fight before it was stopped, that he just really didn't have much to offer, and Whyte was teeing off on him. Not really to an extent where he thought that he was going to drop him, but it was one of those ones where the punches were coming in thick and fast, and a bit like the excuse that the reason they gave for why Kell Brook's fight was stopped, that the punches were coming in thick and fast, and they didn't want this to continue. So Ian Lewison was pulled out at the end of the round. Now, that kind of now leads into two questions. We've talked about those two guys, and realistically, there's two questions that need to be answered to know, or to kind of understand where this fight is going. Okay? And the first question is, can Whyte stop Chisora? Can Whyte stop Chisora? Is he capable? Does he have the power? I think the answer is that Chisora is too durable, too tough, will throw back enough, will keep Whyte busy enough to prevent a stoppage occurring, because Whyte doesn't have that one punch power. Okay. Now the second question is, can Chisora outbox Whyte? Can Chisora outbox Whyte? Now we discussed Chisora. We discussed the fact that he has problems winning rounds that he might have he realistically did win. He gets penalised for style and the way that he fights. So can he outbox Dillian Whyte? Now Dillian Whyte, he's bigger, he's rangier, he's got better movement, he's got a better jab. If Dillian Whyte fights to his potential, he should be able to keep Chisora at range and outbox him. Okay, but will he? Will he do that? That's the question. I'm not sure. It's my perfect, honest answer is I don't know. I don't know in terms of who's going to get the better, because we might see that Dillian Whyte crumbles under the pressure, and Chisora manages to smother him, manages to prevent Whyte from boxing at range, gets in enough punches, enough action to steal rounds, and he could end up stealing it. He's got the experience. He's fought against much, much higher level competition than Dillian Whyte and who Dillian Whyte has fought. So that's the story of this fight. Now, obviously, the routes to victory are clear. For Dillian Whyte, he needs to stay on the outside. He needs to prevent Chisora getting near him at all costs and just simply keep to a boxing fight, box him at range, and he will win the fight easily. Okay? For Chisora, he needs to get in close all the time. He needs to be roughing him up. He needs to be wearing him down. He needs to get those body shots in. He needs to tire Whyte down, and he can win that fight. My opinion is I don't think there will be a stoppage either way. I don't think there'll be a stoppage, and I don't think I don't think there'll be a stoppage. Who I think's going to win? If I'm putting money on it, I would have to say Dillian Whyte on points, just. And you know what? I'm going to say it could be a split decision. Could be a split decision, Dillian Whyte. Okay. Now the actual odds for this fight, well, I've just checked. Dillian Whyte is 4-9 and Chisora is 7-4. So the bookies are favouring Dillian Whyte. They obviously think he's on a crest of a wave in terms of where he's going, and they see that Chisora's in it for another payday, and the fact that he just does not win the big fights. Okay, so that's how I see this fight going. Probably Dillian Whyte on points. So if you've got anything to say about that, I want to hear from you. Do you agree with that? Do you think that Whyte can get the stoppage? Do you think Chisora's got anything? Do you think he's still got anything left? Do you think he's relevant in the division? Do you think he deserves to be number 9 on BoxRec? Let me know. Answer these questions in the comments below. Give me a thumbs up. Contact me. Subscribe to the channel. And remember to check out all my previous videos if you're interested. And in the next couple of weeks, we'll be bringing the Anthony Joshua video. We'll be bringing the Lucas Browne video. We'll also be doing the Stefan Povetkin fight. So there's a lot of good videos coming up. And obviously next week, we're going to have the review of Luis Ortiz. So I've been Teekosey. This has been With Just 15 Defeats.